The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Arnold Palmer Invitational Picks Preview. One and done. We got it all here for you. And the biggest thing, because Geoff Fienberg is in the studio, so he would know this, he just spent the last 30 seconds eyeing down my peeling skin.
Yeah. I got a side profile, and you might have caught me staring like you had a third head or something.
Well, the good thing is it's much worse on this side than it is on this side. So the camera picks me up more on this side. So I'm hiding like... Paul described it as a tire tread yesterday. But it is not great news.
I'm happy with the color I got. Most people would say none. Maybe my wife would say a little too much, but I don't know, I'm pleased. You got it good, though.
This is, I mean, I don't enjoy burning and then peeling because I do rarely burn and then end up peeling. Normally I use sunscreen. Didn't think it was going to be that hot. But this is like the way that I tend to tan. Like 2 days from now, it's going to be like a nice brown color and I'll be good to go. I'll look like, I have this uncle. He spends like half of his time in Florida throughout the course of the year. Yeah. He's like 70 now.
Like, a lot of Canadians that age will do that.
Yeah. So like you see him and he's like horribly unhealthy. Like he smokes, he drinks, he like has this like vodka gut that he has going. But like he has like a nice brown, like crispy tan at all times. He looks kind of vibrant.
Yeah.
Makes him look younger than he is until that day like where it hits and then you look like 20 years older than you are.
I'm the total opposite. I don't really tan. I just get red. And I just try to keep my level of red. Like I'm polar bear white. So
here's what I want to tell the people listening and viewing right now. Apologies for this coming out on a Tuesday. I think it all worked out, though, because Rick and I got to do like a first look through the DraftKings board, which I found incredibly helpful, to tell you the truth, because it wasn't like, oh, here are our picks. Here we go. It's like, hey, what about this guy? What about this guy? And then we dig into him a little bit. So I really enjoyed doing that process with Rick. That show is out right now on the video and podcast feeds. However, if you want to get into a draw for $100 DraftKings dollars on today's show, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, something you like about the show, boom, you're in the draw. You want to get into a $20 giveaway? Smash the like button for the video, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. Give me a winner for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. That easy. You'll be in the draw for $20 DK dollars. Other things, the Pat Mayo Experience Open on DraftKings is live. The link is in the description of this video and podcast. Let's fill that up. FantasyNational.com/PME will get you 20% off to the most comprehensive stat database in the world for fantasy golf, plus all the tools like the simulator, ownership projections, lineup generators. It really makes your week easy. A lot of winners last week from Fantasy National and viewers of this show. We went over them yesterday. We usually do that with me and you, but there's a lot of winners. A lot of people hit Sung Jae outright, including us. Live chat returns next week for the Players' Championship. Wednesday at noon with myself and tentatively Reed Feller, but he might be on location. I don't know. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but we'll be doing a live chat at noon either way. And Cut Sweats Live returns for the Players' Championship next Friday, probably, I don't know, like 4:15 p.m., 4 p.m.
A lot of maybe 4, maybe even a little earlier.
Maybe. We'll see how like Thursday goes and like when that ends, and then we'll try to do like 2.5 hours, something like that. And we'll have the same thing as usual. Like we'll be watching it. You'll be sweating a guy in the lead by 8 shots and be like, I can't believe he didn't make eagle.
Well, because it all matters, Pat, because I can vividly remember last year, and now it's really a common theme. In loving my cut sweat last year, Tommy Fleetwood was firing early in the Players, as I recall, and there's the weekend. But moving on, it was as great as the weekend was, it still like hurt my heart to see Tommy like fall back, but money counts more.
That is very...
Money counts.
This is what we're
Tommy
we're
don't pay the mortgage.
No, Sungjae pays the mortgage right now. But
I love Tommy.
If you want to hear about the Arnold Palmer Invitational, hit the time codes, and it will be listed when we start to get to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, because we got a lot to get through. We got to recap our weekend. We were both in Florida. We met everyone. We'll talk about that. Maybe some Azinger. Action Network has a deal with the PGA Tour, which I think is very encouraging for everything moving forward. So we got a lot of stuff going on. Number one, though, I enjoyed that when there was yelling in Tommy's backswing, people just assumed it was you, and that really cracked me up. And I was like, Jeff's got a bit more class than that.
I don't know how...
You were talking to Mackenzie Hughes' mom.
Firstly, I was at the moment. We can get to that story. But I don't... 2 years ago, I was at the Honda. JT had someone kicked out. Instantly. It's Fienberg, blah, blah, blah. People need to realize I have a great time when I'm at the golf, but I know exactly what I'm doing at all times. At all times. I am not mashed potato loser. I give these guys encouragement well after post shot on their walks. That's it. If I saw one of those people, I'd get them kicked out. I pointed to the cop. I was like 1.5 feet from an officer while that shot was happening. And I was at the green, didn't even know where it was. I was at the green side. How far right into the water did that go? Because I'm we're all like, where is it? Where is it? And people with higher up in the bleachers at that point are letting us know it's in the water. I didn't even believe it. I thought he went into a bunker.
Apologies for the delay in the bars and tones, but I think we've solved our black flash problem, so the audio and the video will be back restored to normal. The shot on 18 with Tommy, he just overcut it. He didn't miss it by, he missed it by a bunch, but you could see it on the shot tracer. It was basically every one of my drives when we played together on the weekend. It's going right.
Nothing to brag about here, bro.
But it was a tricky situation. I ended up cashing out Sung Jae before the end, after he finished on 18 and before Tommy had played 17. They were giving me 33-1 on the 35-1 bet. I was like, if Fleetwood somehow makes birdie on 17, I'm going to melt down here. I was melting down as it was when Sung Jae was playing 18 that I couldn't handle the stress. So I was like, you know what? I'll give up the 2 points. I feel like an idiot in retrospect, but most people bet it 28 anyway. So I was like, whatever. Yeah. And as, Kenny and I and Tambo, I think the first night that we were there, we were talking on the Thursday night. And we were looking at the odds. We were looking at Fantasy National. We're like, man, Sung Jae's ball striking is out of control. Let's rebet him at 66. Let's do that. So we got on that too, which was really nice.
There were a lot of big tickets.
It was a community win.
I was in the group.
You guys were so fired up on 17.
We were so fired up. But here's the other part. When he stuck it on 15, we were lucky that no one was on the tee. There was nothing happening. The place exploded. And this really sour old lady beside us is, just go follow him on the course if you like him so much. And I'm like, I'm here, baby. I'm here. No, it was a great setup. On 17 was wild. No, not me. Mackenzie Hughes' mom on 18. Great moment. So I'm at 18 green side. I get to real front. I can't see where he is. The shot you thought might have hit me.
Yeah.
He's off by the stanchion. And then I'm literally in front of the rule official's cart. Thank you for reminding me. So the players don't only take the week off. Slugger White's not even at the Honda.
What?
I don't know. I didn't even see Slugger. I got his name right?
I think so.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how little I care about the rules officials.
But you see this guy always. I didn't see him around. There were a lot of rulings, especially on 17 all day. I wanted guys to take their shoes off. No one did it. So the rule official comes back to the cart, and I'm like, hope you gave a good ruling. He goes, I hope so too. And I go, actually, I got money on Sung Jae, so I hope you didn't. And then the lady literally couldn't have been any closer to me. It's like, I got the other guy. I turn and look at her. It's like a stone cold copy. It's like Mackenzie Hughes' mom. You can just tell. She's wearing a credentialed pass. But you can just look at her face.
She is the only person in the crowd cheering for Mackenzie Hughes.
I didn't even really hear her cheering, but you just looked at her face, took the comment, saw a credentialed badge, a Canadian in Florida. Makes perfect sense. She'll follow son during the Florida swing. Anyhow. And then, we just got, then it got awkward for 4 seconds. I'm like, oh, you're just a good Canadian boy. And then it's I used to work at the Score, cause they're his, chess sponsor. And and she's like, yeah, none of these, they're all great guys. I'm like, you're right. They're all great guys. She's like, none of them want to melt down. I'm like, you're right. They all try so hard. They're so good. It was just so weird. You're a good Canadian mom. She's like, I'm a fantastic Canadian mom. I'm like, you're absolutely right. And then the whole just played out and we said our goodbyes and it was a good week. But yeah, I guess that was just...
When you're on 17 and Sung Jae sticks it and you guys are fired up, what happens when Mackenzie makes his 50-foot putt?
Guys were cheering, even with in-bets, not me. I'm not here for that.
How much pressure was in that Sung Jae putt, though? Because it was 7 feet.
Tons of pressure.
It wasn't a gimme.
Tons of pressure.
And he was making them all day, except for like the 13 and 14.
There was one par putt or something, a 5.5 foot or something.
Well, he went
for par.
13 and 14. Like he just basically burned the edges to go bogey, and fell back. I was like, oh no, it's all happening again. I can't handle this.
No, tons of pressure. And you could see Mackenzie's from for me, 3.5 feet out, at least the angle. Like this thing was center cut. And then you saw him cock the arm, and you couldn't help but respect it.
Well,
and what a great
funny,
effort and a season-saving incident for Mackenzie.
That basically gets him his card back for next year.
Great, fantastic, happy. But I tell you, when he hit in that bunker shot.
But he didn't. There was no fist pump with the bunker. There was nothing like
I was
that.
like, oh my God.
He was just
happening.
like, all right, here we go. But they're like, he was fired up on 17.
And no one, listen, if Steele or Hughes won, there'd have just been carnage, at least in the group I was with. Everyone would have put their hands in their pocket and felt nothing but their dick because all the money's gone. Like DraftKings, everything would have gotten roasted by those two.
What's it like cheering against Tommy Fleetwood?
I've never really caught myself cheering against it. Maybe there was one really awkward up and down where I'm like, okay, I'm happy it's 20 feet for par instead of 8, because if he misses, he's not as. Yeah, it was a real weird moment, man. But I don't know. Guy's got to get off. He's going to get there. He's got to get there. He's too good.
Is he going to do it this week?
I think it's very possible. Firm, hard, fast. He loves the course. He loves the Honda. His caddy says his favorite course out there. And Bay Hill has a lot of similar qualities.
Not as hard.
And I feel like he crushed it in the early rounds last year at Bay Hill too.
He was there at the end.
Oh my God. He was always on a tear during the Florida swing. No, early. I want to say he was there early with Rafa.
He was. And
last year.
He still ended up finishing in the top 5, I think. But him and Rory couldn't get anything going on Sunday.
Sounds accurate. But I don't know, man. Kenny is a trip. Watching Kenny with he's yelling at them in Korean. Even KH Lee also, anybody.
He was, when I saw him on Thursday night, so one is the quintessential Kenny story, because I flew in late. My flight got delayed 4 separate times. You got delayed coming out.
Yeah.
I got delayed going down. So I ended up, instead of flying into Palm Beach, I flew into Fort Lauderdale. There was a flight just leaving. I was like, can I get on this flight? They're like, yeah, whatever. So I ended up taking an Uber from Fort Lauderdale to Palm Beach. So I showed up a bit after everyone. I was staying with Rick, and Rick ended up going to Gup, had everyone over. And everyone was over there. You were over there. So I was probably an hour and a half behind Rick. And Rick told me when he walked in the door, the only thing he saw was Kenny in a towel. That's it.
Kenny lives the brand.
He really does.
Yeah, I try very hard, to keep it as real as possible. But I don't think anyone can get to, it's as real as it gets.
I do want to give a shout out to Joe and Baroff for putting all that together. Over $13,000 raised.
Yes,
pretty good.
I think
because that's not cheap to put together either. There's expenses involved.
No, there was definitely an effort that went into making that happen, and those guys put in time and effort into doing that. So they definitely deserve a special shout out. And honestly, I gotta say, meeting Gup again, getting to hang with him again was I don't know. The guy is first class as far as I'm concerned. He's such a good guy. He made a lot of that happen the Friday night at the Drive Shack he sponsored. So that was that was incredible. That was incredible. And everything that he puts out in this, the group of guys, I don't know. They all seem to this little thing that he's built is smaller than little, but it's really incredible to see and experience firsthand. And I'm not kidding. It's special.
There was I think there ended up being 90 people there over the weekend. Everyone's basically the same person, as it turns out, that covers golf.
Yeah, I would say so. Even the joke. I always make a joke with my wife. She's
you had to bring your wife to Drive Shack just to prove this was a real thing.
Well, she just wanted to see it, because we've been out before and people have wanted to. Hang out or go for a drink or play around. And she's always worried, I'm going to get murdered. And I always be I don't do a wrestling podcast. Everyone's the same.
We're pretty level-headed.
Yeah, we're all pretty from the same back. I was we're all seems like everyone is
30 to 45.
Yeah, married
white,
with kids,
except
white.
For Kenny.
Except for Kenny. It's pretty much the standard. And Kenny's rocks. Yeah, so she just, and it was a trip for me. And it was a trip for her to experience Friday night. I don't know. It's like weird because she knows the real me. And then there's just like grown men strangers with their own real lives telling her like how much they love me. And one guy like wants to invite me to his wedding in Nashville and pretty much offered me his wife.
Oh, jeez.
No, said his wife wants me.
God.
It's a trip, bro.
You're living the dream, Jeff.
No, I had a great time. Everyone was super cool. Getting to meet everybody, it was awesome.
Another round. Technical difficulties. They don't want us to do the show, Jeff. The gods don't want us to do the show. So before we get off Honda and DFS Open, any other thoughts from the week? Everyone's favorite person to meet was Raza.
Well, without failing to repeat myself, it was literally like meeting everyone was so super cool. Playing with Drew and Greg, we had a good time.
We did have a good time.
And you hit a couple putts, like maybe one of my approaches was used. You let me guys like hit a short one so I could get credit for the birdie, for guys giving some charity for a little work we were going to do. Super good time. It seems like everyone had a good time. The tee times were a little later. I think maybe in retrospect in the future, like there's a lot of like maybe we tee off later and like screw the actual golf.
Well, that's what I ended up doing anyway. So everyone, Rick woke, our tee time was at like 7:15, whatever.
30,
we had to be there by like 7:15, get registered and everything.
I was as drunk as I'd been in a long time
Me
on
too.
Friday night.
So was I.
Like a long time.
Well, everyone was buying us drinks, Jeff. You can't say no. It was awesome. Never felt so great in my life. I'm like, yeah, Pat, do you want a drink? Yeah, let's go. And then Kenny's like, no, we only do shots. Like, if I do a shot, I'm gonna be in real rough shape. Kenny's like, fuck you, do it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. So Rick like wakes me up at like 6:30. He's like, I think we gotta go. I was like, And we fell asleep. We both fell asleep in the Uber to the course. Like the driver woke us up when we got there. And then after we finished the round, like I was dead to the world for the first 9 holes. Felt bad for Greg and Drew. You know, they paid to play with us. I was like, we're good. And I was awful. Then I finally I started to heat up a little bit, felt a lot better on the back 9. But when we were finished, like we went and had lunch. I just looked at Raza. I was like, I don't think I can go to this. He just looks at me and goes, you couldn't pay me $5,000 to go to the golf right now. I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah, pretty much would have rather been eaten by the alligator.
Which he wanted to be anyway.
Meeting Ben, yeah, that was a bit of a highlight.
It was so good.
Because I never got that deep dive from the shows.
You didn't get Larry David vibes from
No,
Ben?
no, but that was great. I didn't even spend a ton of time with them, but even in like the 20 minutes maybe total, I laughed pretty much consistently the whole time.
The only person,
Not in a bad way. Like,
No,
good. He was being himself, and I was
being
finding
hilarious.
it hilarious. Yeah.
And the only person who got burned worse than I did, I think, was JB. Burkett got burned pretty badly.
Bad.
And he had I think he was wearing my Florida Marlins late 90s outfielder shades because he had the huge raccoon eyes instead of just the regular sunglasses because they went up to here.
Listen, I don't know. There were a lot of sunburns to go around, but I had a blast.
So me too. Definitely going to do that again next year. I assume it's going to be, if it happens again next year, I assume it's going to be bigger.
Yeah, I assume be a little bigger, and I will. How do I put this? Last year was a perfect storm. I had my trip booked out there before the DFS Open happened. Next year, I'll be leaving the family at home because partying for 3 straight days, then flying home with kids is like.
And you were delayed.
It was just it hurts physically, and I'm getting old, so I got to be able to do that without any other responsibilities at the moment. Because I'm have enough trouble taking care of myself, let alone other people.
So you didn't see the Azinger comment, did you?
No.
Okay. So basically what he was getting at is that Fleetwood and Westwood aren't good because they don't win on the PGA Tour. Now, I think what he was saying has merit. He just said it in completely the wrong way. And he triggered everyone who lives overseas. Now, maybe this is a good thing because he really I checked out the Azinger comments and it seemed like anyone who wasn't American was enraged. And everyone who was American yeah, you give it to him, Zing. So maybe he's just positioning himself as very pro-America. People can get behind that.
It's a common thing we talk about here. We hold PGA Tour wins to a higher standard.
And we
just do. The fields are harder. The competition is greater. There are so many times.
Listen, when Tommy won against Rory and Dustin over in the desert, it was a better field than what we saw at the Honda last week.
Yeah, so
there are certain tournaments that are better in Europe.
If you're a race to Dubai winner, that's better than having a Valspar.
Yes.
both financially and to any resume ever. I don't give a shit. And a Valero or something. There are a handful of non-majors, non-WGCs that are held in a higher regard.
Yeah, the BMW.
Torrey Pines.
No, I'm saying overseas. It would be like.
Sorry, I'm talking about like
the one at Wentworth. Like most of the ones in the desert towards the end of the year tend to be because they're sort of like the tour championship for the European Tour. And I'm sure there's a few that I'm missing, like the Alfred Dunhill where they play Carnoustie, St. Andrews. That seems like more of like a gimmick
that's a pro-am. It's kind of like Pebble Beach at this point.
Yeah.
I would say their version of it.
But their field seems to be stronger for that than Pebble Beach actually is over here.
Okay, maybe. Sure.
But like most of the European events seem to be on par with like the Canadian Open.
And there's a lot, yeah. And how many times, don't get me wrong, there's majors, there's WGCs, and then we've always, when we're at those weeks, sometimes this feels like one of them. Bay Hill, just the way Golf Channel gives it that sort of entire full treatment. It's in their backyard. So they're like on site like it is a major.
And the field is major-y because all the international players, anyone basically from the European Tour or even overseas, regardless of where you're from, they tend to make their homes in Orlando. So they're playing in these Florida tournaments. Like if it wasn't for the international players, most of these Florida tournaments would be like absolute dog shit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They save a lot of the international events. You mentioned Orlando. Orlando's great. They can get direct home anywhere, any time of day just because of Disney. Because of Disney, all the guys. That's why a lot of the Asians, if they don't want to live in LA, they like to live in like Texas. Because I guess that's a real popular middle hub. You can get directly home to South Korea or Japan pretty much at least once or twice a day.
Yeah,
and that's
like
important
Houston
to them.
Would have like direct.
Yeah. So that is pretty much the reason. If there's a family thing, they just got to get home. It's important to them. That's why a lot of them do set up shop in Orlando. But it's a real thing, Pat. Azinger might have said it wrong, but how many times I'm like part of a mob that gets excited about this guy. We're like, he's doing so great on the European Tour. And you're like, okay, but who is he on the PGA Tour? Like, who is he on the PGA Tour if we have to rank him? But we just sort of overrate a lot of the guys. And maybe a lot of them prove to be worth the overrating. EVR's coming on, showed his great stripes. We'll see what happens going forward.
I think it's a disingenuous statement about someone like Westwood and someone like Fleetwood in particular, because it's not like Fleetwood won Oman and that's all he's ever done in his life. Like he basically won the President's Cup for them.
He didn't win the Super Sixes.
No. And what does he have? 2 runners up at the U.S. Open now? Yeah. I think he has 5 wins over there. Some of them are like the Ned Bank, but some of them are against like all the big boys as well. And he's performed well in the majors and WGCs. And like Westwood is collectively known as the best player who's never won a major. Yeah. And he's probably going to retire with that unless he somehow wins the British Open this year, which is in play for him. He's playing well. That's an old man course. He could probably get it done. But it just seems weird to point out those 2 guys, especially because like Westwood has played full-time on the PGA Tour time to time, but he mainly is a European Tour player.
Yeah, he tried. I spoke about it last week.
But like it wasn't like he played on the tour for 15 years.
You're right. I don't know. We make fun of Louis too a lot, right?
Yeah, but Louis just doesn't win anywhere anymore. He just comes second everywhere.
Yeah. No, you are right. Those are 2 guys that probably deserve to avoid that. Now, I don't know, it's weird. It's a guy that I'm going to be keen on maybe this week.
Matt Wallace.
A Matt Wallace or even an Alex Noren. He's got 5 European Tour wins? Doesn't feel like Fleetwood. He's even got a BMW and a Club National. He's got some quality wins, a guy like an Alex Noren.
And I think that there's a bit of a different style of game, too.
Yeah, it's a Honda. It's a Club National. Reminded me of Honda.
Yeah, it actually does. Like, it seems like there's a reason like international players do really well in Florida, just because Florida's so much different than it seemingly every other course. Like most of the courses are super tough just because there's so much water around. And besides like your Torrey Pines or your Rivieras, everything's kind of like a hit and giggle out west or during the swing season. And like European Tour events, they're just different courses. Like when you go to the Club National, like you got to hit every fairway or you're screwed. Almost like we saw last weekend.
But even in an event that I want to say Fleetwood charged and won, like the Ned Bank in South Africa, they're like this it could host a U.S. Open the way they set up the fairways in the rough there.
I can't really speak too much to that.
But
I don't know.
But I'm just a lot of the European Tour courses do play much tougher. It is a different style of golf. When you make a mistake in Florida, you are going to pay. with doubles and triples. A lot of times we see these great players make mistakes off the tee, and what do you know? There's an opportunity. There's holes to save themselves. They don't have to clear hazards. So you just make a bogey.
And
So you just make a bogey. Or it's just driver wedge. And all our driver wedge superstars that American golf is really built on. And you know, Rory likes to say, he likes to take shots at the PGA Tour for not playing hard enough courses, but I'm not going to hold it against him for not showing up at the Honda or anybody. It's a bad schedule, but driver wedge crew at the top of the world rankings, they don't want that smoke. You could put the Honda in the most convenient schedule spot of the year. Our driver wedge, they don't want it. They don't want it.
Well, they're moving the
It's
Honda now
humbling.
to the week after the Players as of next year, moving Valspar into April, it looks like. So they're hoping that people stick around after the Players and just go play the PGA National the next week. I'm curious to see how that works out because it would be Bay Hill, Players, Honda. I don't think that really solves their problem of no one playing because then like the match play will be the next week. So like
And
everyone's just going to skip it anyway.
And and there was just a WGC. No, guys,
But people are skipping that WGC more and more and more. That seems to be the one. Like people take China off because it's November in China. I can see why people skip that one. It's inconvenient if you're not over there playing in the Zozo or playing in the CJ Cup.
But if a Democrat wins, maybe they can bring it back home.
Played it to Durrell.
Well, I guess they'll never do that. I miss Doral.
I missed Durrell.
Doral
too.
would have been such a... Oh, that's where you would have made the big boys. I guess they do it at the Players, but make the big boys do Bermuda grass, wind, and water. Love it.
I was stunned to go back and look at a lot of people that some people just skip the Florida swing outside of the Players.
It happens all the time. Dustin, there's a handful of really...
Xander basically he played the 2018 Honda, and that outside of the Players, the only Florida event he played.
He's here.
He's here this week. Interesting guy this week. Olympics. Are the Olympics going to be canceled?
I would be surprised if they weren't.
But DJ has now said that he is not playing in the Olympics because he wants to focus on the FedEx Cup. Do you think FedEx sponsored him for that?
I don't have a clue. I don't know what I ran into.
You're into the flake machine.
I don't know. It doesn't even look like flakes. Looks like I got like a dusty bulligon.
Well, I mean, people do stomp upstairs.
Yeah,
and
no,
part
I'm
of the ceiling does fall. So
I'm
just
not even
watch
kidding.
yourself.
I'm not denying that I can get flaky, but I like those look like rat-sized flakes.
You got some ceiling on you.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, Dustin doesn't want to play.
That doesn't shock me one bit. He doesn't get. He's just not for it. Even like Brooks, you could tell by his comments, he's on like the precipice of saying like, it's not for me. Tiger's even indicated.
Tiger will go if he gets a spot. I think he wants to win an Olympic gold medal.
Okay.
I really do. And aren't they playing the same place they played the Zozo?
I don't know. All I can tell you is Tokyo is Zozo. I know Tokyo. I know Zozo's in Japan. I don't remember that, though. I don't remember hearing that week.
I don't know if it's the same course or not, but clearly he's okay playing in Japan.
But that makes total sense. Like, LA's at Riviera, which is going to be 2024.
Is that where it is?
Yeah.
It's not LA Golf Club? Because I know that's hosting a major at some point soon.
To my understanding, it was Riviera.
It might be. I actually have no idea.
And who knows? But I would expect cancellation. I would. I don't know. We'll see how much power the Coke commercial has.
That'd be weird.
Because NBC's done a full ad sell. They've even traded Super Bowls, I remember hearing, because they didn't want to have a Super Bowl and Olympics in like some year. They did a trade. They made a network trade with one of the other Super Bowl eligible networks.
I can see that. Like, it would be a lot of allocation of resources to do Super Bowl and plan out the Olympics in the same year.
So I'm just saying there have been a lot of things, the billions of ad sales, but there is got to be a point of no return on this thing. And I want to say,
Did you get
Palm Beach?
Did you get stuck in the Palm Beach traffic when Mike Pence showed up to go to Mar-a-Lago?
No, but Palm Beach to Toronto, you're not worried. But like heavy wipe downs. And my wife's always wiping down the armrest and the table tray, like on an airplane. But this was like a triple wipe down. And then you see like the staff at customs. She's got to clear customs. Back home, like, He's got a mask around his neck, but he's not wearing it. And then like you're in your head like, I will not get this thing. But there's one place on earth I could get this thing, and it's right goddamn here.
Yeah, the customs at Toronto Airport. Fortunately, they give you, when you go to the clear customs in Toronto, there's the US Canada line, and then there's the international line.
And I'm not a fearmonger. I don't even know. People die of the normal flu. Has like a 22-year-old like healthy guy died from this thing, or is it just people susceptible health?
I think it's kind of everyone. I think that both the youngest and the oldest people are at a higher risk.
Oh, as always.
Listen, I'm no doctor, but I think that the difference between like when you think about like mortality rate, the flu as opposed to this, it's similar, but the big difference is Corona is currently spreading. Like flu is on like lockdown. People get flu shots. Like that's contained to a certain amount of people, but no one seems to know like where Corona is coming from. So it's like spreading and spreading and spreading. And that's really the contagion.
Well, isn't it coming from people that ate bats?
I mean, I don't know what's real and what's not, to tell you the truth. It seems like it came from China. I don't know how people got it. I don't know how it got out, but it seems to be everywhere at this point. But there's a spread of it that is just so much larger than the flu that seems to be the real concern. That's Dr. Pat's analysis on it.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands and don't cough in your hand, then shake someone's hand. Fist bumps.
So I just felt like, I can't get this thing. Where you like walking Canadian customs or any, I guess, customs.
Yeah, everyone's wearing the mask. It like freaks you out a little bit.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Like I know I'm confident I won't get this, but if I'm gonna get it, it's gonna happen right here. Don't worry, get home. Like my wife's like every piece of clothing that was worn on the airplane, like off. You're not allowed to like sit on anything.
You have like the old person plastic cover.
No, we don't have the plastic covers. My wife's just like, we wore that on the airplane. Like, take it off. Bath for the kids right now.
Action Network did a deal with the PGA Tour. They're like the official content supplier. Not necessarily sure how this all works out, but they're embracing gambling. I feel like this is nothing but a good thing.
It's good. The move is being made. People that like scoffed at it before are now investing or agreeing. I think like just as a simple way that Joe made a nice little speech after the golf, said like, who is one of the closest partners to the PGA Tour? The First Tee. They are like this in terms of a partnership relationship. What did the DFS Open prove to the First Tee? Like, we're just real people. Like, we're just real people. Nothing like, you don't need to be scared about like what's going to happen. Maybe unless you saw us on 17 when Sanjay stuck it to 6.5 feet. Other than that, you don't got to be scared about anybody. But yeah, big moves. And this is just the beginning. Other entities are going to keep popping up because it's an industry now. Not just golf, all of sports. But the people that do it for all other sports are now noticing golf is a real player in this thing. And you don't know how many people I met this week were just like football guys. And golf just like gave them this thing. Because they're not into the NBA. And they'll do March Madness. And they'll watch playoffs. But golf gives them a taste. And it's fun. And it's great.
Treading water between football seasons.
Yeah.
They enjoy it more than the XFL.
Sure. I don't know. But it's real and it's fun. And I'm not surprised at all. And I think, like, to your point, it's just the beginning of more growth and opportunity and just widespread acknowledgement. I'm not sure that like lines are going to show up on the TV.
No,
not during the round.
I think we're far away from that, but we've seen a partnership with DraftKings. They're the official daily fantasy partner of the PGA Tour. So I'm doing videos for them. There's now content about DraftKings up on PGAtour.com. That's step one. Step two is this.
Yeah, and
doing a deal with the Action Network and doing everything like that. The next thing I think that we're going to see, and I think I know where you're going with this Mackenzie Hughes thing, is that he's sponsored by The Score. The Score has morphed into a content/gambling app. Now, I don't know. Maybe he's grandfathered in by having that. I don't know if
You're probably right.
I don't know if they
exact
allow
moment.
that yet, but soon enough, we're going to see DraftKings sponsoring people on the PGA Tour. There might be my long wish of the DraftKings Open might finally happen. We get rid of Stableford scoring. The golfers are competing with DraftKings scoring at the DraftKings Open, which would be awesome. But you have things like that. Like, William Hill will come in and they'll sponsor someone. Like, eventually, the gear that people wear, like the players wear, it won't just be Callaway or 5 Hour Energy. They'll look kind of like soccer jerseys.
Unibet, Bet365, Betfair. A lot of the Europeans, all those books you can't access.
And the tour is seeing that there's a ton of money in it. But the players are starting to see like, hey, if we don't allow these people into the space, we're losing money here.
Everybody,
Like, these people have so much money and they're willing to give it to us. And you're saying that we can't have it?
Yep.
They'll be pissed. Like, that's the biggest leverage point that new league has coming up, that if the PGA doesn't adapt to this soon, and this is the one thing that we talked about, why that Premier Golf League was kind of the best thing that ever happened. Because all it's going to do is kick the PGA's ass into, like, updating with the times. Because they'll do all this stuff. So I think it's been a good so far because the PGA is basically taking away all their leverage points. Like, oh, we'll give you gambling sponsorship. Oh, we'll do a deal with Turner and we'll broadcast every single shot that comes along. We'll up the fees. And the players are like, why can't we just do that on the PGA Tour? And the PGA's like, I guess we can. It's not that big of a deal. And now we're seeing that slowly work. So I'm encouraged by it.
Absolutely. Nothing but good news. Props to the Action Network. Got to meet a couple of those guys this weekend. Sobel.
Yeah, Sobel actually, his story about, I met him and his buddy who had the $100 bet on Brennan Steele to win.
Oh.
It was a good story he wrote.
So there's that.
And the point of the story was, at the end of it, his friend basically said, it was worth the $100 even though I didn't win. It was 4 days of fun. And that's how we've always described golf gambling. Is that no matter what, even if it was $20 at 100 to 1, you win $2,000, it sounds great. $100 at 100 to 1 and $10,000 is even better. But no matter what it is, if it's an amount that's like, hey, that's a lot of money. But it also gives you what? 8 hours, 32 hours of entertainment. Like, that's almost the best bang for your buck you're going to find on any sort of investment in entertainment.
Listen.
Like, a movie is fucking $25 and it'll last 2 hours.
We are here. We've been doing this. And it's you could like laugh at this watching. You could like be like, shut up. You're an idiot. That doesn't happen. You have no concept of how many times people literally credit us for becoming fans of the PGA Tour. And if it's happening here, there's other podcasts and other content creators in the golf space that I'm sure are also creating fans. But I'm not fucking Tiger Woods. That's not my job.
Are you sure? You're not Tiger Woods?
I'm just saying, thank you, Pat. Like, I shouldn't be creating your fans. Fans who like you should be coming here, but like that's insane. That's insane. But it's true, and it's happening. And even if it's a small amount,
well, it's a different audience too, and that's more valuable. Like, it's not more valuable, but if you could get, let's say, 1,000 people interested in golf by watching this show, or you could just get another 1,000 65-year-olds who like golf who are new viewers.
It's not happening. No 65-year-olds just falling in love with golf.
I mean, they might. Once people retire,
just
they
like
pick
I
up
didn't
golf.
believe Ron Washington snorted a line for the first time at 60.
We want to kick it up a gear at old age.
I'm just saying, it doesn't work like that.
Sure, but like the value of the customers of people who watch this show, because I mean, just by the demographics that I look at, like most people who watch the show are between the ages of 25 and 45. A lot of single people, a lot of people with college educations and disposable income. Like, that is your target market for new customers of any kind across the board. And the fact that they're now watching golf is huge for golf.
And one of the coolest trips for me of the whole weekend was meeting John, and I forget his son's name, but father-son, they do it together. I mean, it worked out to come to the DFS Open because they're from Washington, and the Nationals had literally spring training like 12 minutes from where everything was happening. So it's a perfect trip to begin with. It was icing on the cake for them. But like, what? It's like now a father-son. I don't know whether they like, maybe they double lineup.
Oh, no. Don't joke about that.
Sorry. You could beep that out.
You gotta get me fired over here. I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, I'm joking. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Could have fathomed me and my dad going to like the game with our DK lineups together
And going to like a DraftKings
like event
content person golf event.
That's so cool.
But what do you think that conversation's like if you went to your dad like, Dad, let's go play golf with my internet friends? Like, would you like, what?
Here's the funny thing about it. One, to like my father, who it's happened, like we've been out for dinner and the waiter in California was like a fan. And like, that is worth like 8,000 listeners to my dad because he doesn't understand the internet like that we do, kind of. Like, you know, it's like TV. Like, for someone to know you actually have to be someone.
Your dad understands the internet like Cust understands the internet.
Sure. Or like even when I was out with my saw someone at breakfast, and like the fact that like someone sees me and like my mother-in-law sees it, it's like the same. She's up there in age, and like she doesn't understand how easy it is to like get people on the internet.
She basically thinks you're Judge Judy at this point.
You could say that. You could say that.
Except you're not making $80 million a year.
No, but you understand what I'm saying.
I know, I absolutely
do.
Their
ability for someone to recognize you must mean like.
How else would they know you if they didn't see you on the TV box?
Exactly.
Kind of
like
thing.
they don't really understand this whole like new industry. Not just like golf things, like people like reciting movie scenes, like, just anything.
You could be a TikTok star.
Sure.
People are like, whoa.
Yeah.
Here we go. Or an Instagram influencer.
So, like,
it's easy to be seen.
Yeah. So they can't really, like, one fan in person is worth like 1 million. If that makes any sense.
No, I completely understand what you're saying.
So that's like weird. But anyhow, I don't remember how we got there, but we got there. Funny thing, on my airplane home, Bob was on it with Bob Weeks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was he not at the event, but he was at surrounding wineries? He's like, let me tell you about this wine next to the course. Because they just like launched like a new show up here, and it is such. I have friends who work on it. I feel bad, but it's like horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first 40 minutes of the show has also been horrible because we haven't actually talked about golf.
Sure.
But we will do another 40 minutes where we actually talk about the golf.
Yeah.
They're like, here's what happened last week. That's our show. Okay.
To that point, as to going back to the Action Network thing, as much as there are great strides being made, I've been inside of some of these buildings where some of these decisions get made in the past, and things happen so slowly. And then when it's finally time to act,
no one's ready.
And it's like a rush job. But it's all been in front of them this whole time. So that's incredibly discouraging. But
so covertly, I had a meeting with the television executive yesterday. And we were talking about getting gambling content and betting content onto their network. How do we do that? Can I produce anything for them? Or like, can I consult with them to find out, like, they didn't want to do, or at least this guy, he's a bit more plugged in than seemingly the rest of everyone there. But he's like, I want to make sure that it's not horrible, for one thing. Like, I want to make sure it's actually accessing the people that we need to access. Like, I don't want a real bettor to look at this and be like, these guys don't bet. It was the first thing he said to me. I was like, that is a very good step one.
He must have heard of somebody who I use clown emojis for.
Maybe. But the other way, he's like, we got to start doing this now because I want to be first to the scene. But he's like, this won't happen for like a year. He's like, I wanted to change the font on the headline of the show I did last night, and it took 3 months. He's like, it actually takes me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But to go through approval and bring it up to the next and bring it up to the next, like network style, he's like, it took me 3 months. Like it sucks in that way. So there's always going to be barriers that. And I'm super guilty of this too, being like, this is how it needs to be. This is when it needs to be done. It's super easy to do. But there is a giant bureaucracy around a lot of this that there are people who, like, when we talk about like cut sweats and shot by shot, there are people in the building who want all of that too. But it just takes time. Like, you need to sell the guy above you. And then once that's done, you need to sell the guy above him and then the guy above him. Because it's not the top down. The people with the good ideas are like
bottom up, the foot soldiers.
Not necessarily the very bottom, but the level up from the bottom to the mid tier, and then you gotta sell these 80-year-old dudes on it. They're like, what? What's this? Gotta take a nap. Where's my stocks? They're not doing well. I hate this.
Yeah. So,
ready to talk golf?
Let's talk golf.
Arnold Palmer Invitational, Bay Hill, over 7,400 yards, par 72. Bermuda grass greens. The biggest thing I noticed about playing on Bermuda is how thin the grass is. I get it. I get why it's so different now.
Yeah.
Like me and you were joking when we were playing. It's like, it's not like the courses you see in the Northeast.
No.
Which it's funny because that's like where like a lot of the, like, even when I was in Minnesota playing with Moose and like playing like Hazeltine and checking out like TPC Twin Cities, where the 3M was, like, very similar grass types to around here, like when I played in New York, that kind of thing. But like trying to hit off the fairway, like if you don't hit it perfectly, it's just explosion divot. Yeah. It's like, ooh. And like even in the rough, like there's sand underneath everything. Yeah. It is really, really weird. And I didn't realize how stark of a difference it was. Bermuda greens, love putting on them. They are pure. They're like concrete and they're pure.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, you couldn't have said it any better. But those fairways can feel like a sponge.
Yeah, it's like you need to strike it perfectly. So, ball strikers this week. Turns out that's why ball striking so key in Florida, unless you can just roll putts. Past winners, Molinari stormed the course. Molinari shot 8 under on Sunday a year ago, and he won at 12 under.
I had a huge live that day.
He was like 50, 60 to 1 going into Sunday. Yeah. Rory the year before, who had a nuclear Sunday. Him and Bryson both had a nuclear Sunday. He ended up outlasting Bryson to win at 18 under. Leishman the year before that, when he sunk my Kevin Kisner dreams of a very, very big ticket, won at 11. I think you hit Leishman that week. I hit Jason Day the year before, 17
Leishman
under.
outdueled Kisner.
That's what I'm saying. I had Kisner, you had Leishman. The year before, I had Day, and I think you had Chappell, who we beat.
Yeah.
So it all evens itself out. Every Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods has won here 8 times in the past. I got strokes gained approach as the major key, but I also looked at proximity from beyond 200 yards. Over 33% of the approach shots this week come from that range, which is one of the most on tour. So long iron's key. It's why Stenson tends to play well here every single year. Opportunities gained, the Fantasy National stat, and par threes gained, 200 to 225 yards. The average par 3 here is 217 yards. That's tough. Like, you need to play those holes well in order to have any sort of chance. So if we get into the actual odds, Rick and I talked about this yesterday as it pertained to the DraftKings board, but Rory is 5 to 1. Fleetwood's 14. Bryson is 16. Hideki's 20. So is Xander. Scott, 22. Sungjae and Reed, 25. Brooks, 30 to 1. You can find a better number on Xander and Adam Scott. You can get them both at 25 if you want to.
I think a couple of these guys, you can find something.
Yeah, these odds seem to be a bit short, but Rory is locked in at 5 to 1. It's funny because his DraftKings price doesn't really correlate to that. He's only $800 more expensive than Fleetwood. And like, the discrepancy between the odds would really lead you towards Rory McIlroy in this thing. And like, just even going on Fantasy National and running the model, like, no matter what range that you run it by, Rory is number 1. Like, he is perfectly suited for this course, but he's only won here once. And he had to do it by gaining 9 strokes putting in 1 round. He made everything that day.
It's a hard pat. Like, he can win it, and I'm not surprised. He can win it by 10 shots. It's Rory, but 5 to 1 for some of these names coming behind him, doesn't even hard pass. I'm off back-to-back wins. I can do whatever the hell I want. I sure as hell ain't betting Rory at 5 to 1.
I mean, you could use all the money that you won to bet Rory at 5 to 1.
I've got zero interest.
Is it fair? Is 5 to 1 fair?
It's never fair. I don't even mean this week. I mean, it's never fair. And just like the 80 to 1 is never fair. We never win enough.
So here's the thing. So fantasynational.com has an event simulator. And if you go fantasynational.com/PME, you get yourself some savings, and boom, you can go check this out yourself. So per the odds, it just runs it like by hole. Like, you can only tell so much from a simulator. But the market has Rory at 5 to 1. The simulator has him at 4 to 1 to win, which blows my mind.
That's okay. So you're telling me it's fair?
It seems like a fair number.
Okay, let's do this game.
I'm not betting it, but it does seem like a fair number.
Next week, he could be at the Players where everyone will be there, and he could still be 5 to 1, and this will feel incredibly fair. Have felt, in hindsight, incredibly fair.
The only way that he's 5 to 1 next week at the Players is if he wins this week.
If he wins this week,
even if
he could be under 5 to 1.
No, he won't. Not at the Players. He won't be.
Just because it's so random.
It's like, yeah, the Players is a crapshoot anyway. But this tournament's sort of a crapshoot too. There's like 82 bunkers, waters in like you can see water on every shot on this course. I think it's only really in play for 8 holes, but I think like at worst you'll see 6.5, 7, just because everyone's there, and everyone's not here this week. Like once you get Tiger in a field and Dustin in a field, all of a sudden Rom, like
JT, I don't need to name them.
Once they're all there, it's hard to be 4 to 1.
Agreed.
Unless you're like 2000 Tiger and you're like even money to win these events.
I was looking at odds, past winner odds. In 13, I think he cashed at 3 to 1 here.
Tiger?
Yeah.
Probably good odds on him. I thought he'd be like minus 200. Because there were events where he was even money to win and he was winning.
That would have been before 13.
Yeah, before 13. That would have been like 2004.
But I remember during like my best friend of all time's wedding was the day he had his last win here. And I had the 8 to 1 and I was distracted and I couldn't even watch it on the thing. That was the day he made that incredible chip on the hole.
That was before you can just stream the entire thing on your phone?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on.
So the rest of the guys inside, what about Im on a repeat? Im was like top 10 here last year.
Did you hear about Im's caddy?
The guy who's really, really good, as it turns out?
So,
or was that his translator?
Funny enough,
Was translator and caddy the same guy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Bob Weeks told me the story.
Oh.
We had enough time to exchange stories.
He has a good tan.
Great tan. Great tan. Listen, when you're at the back of the plane with 2 kids and there's a lineup for the washroom, you can say whatever you want to those people hoarding over your chair. Im fired his caddy last week.
What?
Swear to God. Who did he hire? You might the name might be familiar to me. It certainly to you was familiar to me. Albin Choi, a one-time like top Canadian amateur who's still at the bottom of the Corn Ferry.
Okay, so that's what they were talking about. I think he was the guy who was translating as well for him, but like he was like an SEC like top end player. Yeah.
Canadian Albin Choi, I guess now, and he first out wins, so probably worth a lot more money than going back to the Corn Ferry, being a guy who T20s all over the globe and doesn't take week off.
Yeah, I would think so. Sung Jae's looking good for me in that draft we did at the beginning of the year.
Oh, great. And it was another great President's Cup win.
Well, that's why we need to bet Hao Tong over in Qatar this week.
I didn't even think about that.
Get him off the mat.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
What is that now? We got Thomas, 1. Cam Smith, Leishman, Reed. I say Adam Scott.
Scott.
Adam Scott, M.
Could even be forgetting one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, Neiman wins this week?
Who won Career Builder? MX.
Oh, Landry.
Oh.
He wasn't on the President's Cup team.
No.
Who won Pebble? Nick Taylor. He also was not on the President's Cup team. Maybe he should have been over Hadwin. Who knows? Where's Hadwin in all of this? Like, does he even have a tour card anymore?
It's weird. He just had a baby. I hope everything's okay. He played 1 or 2 events out of that.
And then that was it.
That was it, yeah.
So out of all these guys in the middle here, Xander, we have 20 on my sheet. I bet him at 25-1. I don't love it just because he never plays in Florida, but his putting has been so atrocious. You know, he gained over 10 strokes on approach at WGC Mexico. That's outrageous. That's an outrageous number. He led the field by over a stroke on approach, and he wasn't sniffing that leaderboard because his putting was so horrendous. But he's long. That's what you need. He's great at his long irons. Just make some putts. Make some putts, man, and we're good to go. Like, you can't lose 6 strokes per event. It's not going to happen. You're not Ben Ann. So I don't love it, but a lot of my bets I don't love this week, but I think that I'm getting value on the way that he statistically lines up for this course. And even last year, there was 5 guys inside the top 10 who had never played this course before. So I'm not really worried about like a first timer.
Okay.
That seems to be not a problem. So
I made a joke yesterday.
Xander.
I like to avoid Americans, but it makes sense.
internationals have won this event the past 4 years.
Yeah.
And everyone inside the top 5 last year, international player. Like, do you want Tommy? Do you want Bryson? Do you want Hideki? Like, Hideki also rates out really well.
Bryson, I cannot bet, but I went to bed on Sunday thinking I could just have a 2-man Bryson Tommy card. I thought there were going to be names between them and Rory, though. I don't know. Maybe it's the Arnie thing. Maybe I just thought, I don't know. So they're both a little low.
Can you hit us with some Arnie's Army? You think we're going to hear that ad?
I'll get in there. But Bryson.
Barney. What's a better name? Barney DeChambeau.
It's like, do I want him to burn,
No, we bet him at the Masters.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But most Masters winner outside of, Tiger last year get a win somewhere in the calendar year before winning the Masters.
That's the other part of it.
That normally happens.
There were...
That's why Justin Thomas is actually going to win.
The wildly accessible Xander better number you're speaking of, they opened up with Tommy and Bryson at 18, and I just stared at them. And I might have bid on them, but I didn't. As of right now, I have only made a bet over 30. I haven't made a bet under 30-1, and I don't know if I will. And I think it could be a Hideki week, if that's what you were about to say.
That's what I was going to say, too. I was going to say yes or no on Hideki at 20. You might be able to find a 22.
I'd hope to find it better. It's really hard to expect him to win, but it really does feel like it's coming. And to your point,
it's been since
Xander might...
President's Cup guy.
Xander, I think I'd rather bet Xander at 25.
I think I would too.
Than Hideki. But I like Hideki a lot. Maybe he could find his way in lineups. Is he the fourth man on the DraftKings tote?
He is the third man. He's ahead of Bryson. It goes Rory, Tommy, Hideki, Bryson, Xander. But then you have Scott and Reed. I don't have a ton of interest in them. Same as Im this week at 25. It's funny that Reed can win a WGC. and he's 25-1. And he's been playing lights out all year. He's won the Masters. He has like 10 PGA wins. He's won 2 WGCs in his career. In win once, same odds. That's kind of funny to me. Like, it just shows you how much the books know how much people hate Patrick Reed and don't want to bet Patrick Reed. Because he really should be like, I'm not going to bet him at 25, but you could make him 16-1 and it wouldn't seem out of place.
You bring up the resume. He's won at Doral. He's been in like the cusp of playoffs at Valspar.
Mm-hmm. He lost in a playoff at Valspar to Spieth and Sean O'Hare.
And he three-putted a chance to get into one versus Casey.
Yeah, like he's plenty good on Bermuda.
Yeah, so Florida golf, he's handled it. I don't know what.
He's won at Wyndham. That's also Bermuda.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I got no interest in it.
He might be distracted blocking people on Twitter, though. Not us, because we're big Patrick Reed guys, but people
I
in
always
general.
get nervous. He might misconstrued one of my wicked jokes. Well, I'd be happy for him to see them in the first place. And then after seeing them, if I'm lucky enough that he saw them, worried I might get blocked. Like maybe he would take offense to being like him being Shawn Michaels and Justine being Sherry in a GIF after a win. I don't know. They seem hypersensitive. And this whole thing with him and Bryson now, like I think we talked about it last week, like they are like a kinship, it seems.
I like it. I still don't understand why people don't like Bryson. He seems like a real nice guy.
Yeah.
He's even tried to pick up his pace of play, which is nice.
Yeah.
Although that's something to watch out for, because he's still like a slow player. When you watch the group at WGC Mexico, I think it was an advantage for him to be in the second to last group instead of the last group. I think he was holding up the last group, and they were getting all pissed off, and it threw them out of their rhythm. It'd be like playing behind JB Holmes.
No, people say that anytime.
Not necessarily playing with JB Holmes, playing behind JB Holmes.
Anytime I make or someone makes the, oh no, they're with JB today, someone is always quick to reply to me on the internet that no, the actual death spot is behind JB.
He's out there taking a nap in the middle of the fairway or something. Who knows?
At least when you're with him, there's a chance he'll catch your stink eye.
Yeah.
From you. Or like you mocking him. But when he's that far, when he's 200 yards out in front of you, he probably can't see it.
Here's a name for you. Brooks Koepka, 30-1.
Pass.
He's been horrible at this tournament in the past.
I'm going to bet another guy who's been horrible.
I'm doing that too, but that's such a number, man.
I'm not betting different guys.
The last time I saw this number was Bridgestone, Justin Thomas. I was in Montreal with my wife. I can't remember why I was there. I think it was like a pre-baby trip before we had it, pre-honeymoon trip. I don't remember. But I looked at it. It was the only bet I made that week because I opened up the app and I was like, why is Justin Thomas 30-1 when he should be like 12-1? So I just blindly bet it and he won that week. This is a number he can cash. Not going to lie to you. I bet Brooks at 7-1 in tournaments and in stronger fields. So I'm kind of with you on the fact that I don't want to do it. That number is like Fowler's 33, Finau's 33, Day is 33, Brooks is 30. I think Brooks has more win equity than those three guys combined. He might come dead last, but we're picking winners here.
I could use Brooks to get going for our pool. Would I be shocked?
So you're betting Finau? Or
No.
You're betting Shitty Ricky again? Ooh, you saw his new gear, you're like, oh man, it must be his week. He's part of Ernie's army. He's got a song written after him.
Let me go for a second here.
What's the case for Ricky? The case for Ricky is he sucked at every place he's been good at, so he's going to be good here?
Ricky, I saw something I didn't see in Brooks by how they played on Friday.
Can you explain?
Ricky shot a 6 under. He almost made the number. Would have been the best round, it was the best round of the week on the entire grounds.
Don't believe he shot a 6 under.
4 under.
I think he was 4. Maybe he got to +4. I think he was 2 under.
But wasn't he at +6?
Yeah, and he got to +4. Sick Ricky. You're really giving him a lot of credit here.
I don't know.
Let me find the old Rickster, see where he's at.
There's a lot of fucking red.
Yeah, it wasn't great. He couldn't get it up and down a lot, which I found kind of surprising. 72. Did +3 make the cut?
Yes. Let me just get my note because it's all a blur.
No, the Gim Reaper didn't play too well. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. He struck the ball very well Friday.
Okay. Did he strike the ball really well or did he putt really well? Because there's a big difference in that.
He struck the ball well. I think Ricky heard the haters.
Fowler shot 68 in round 2. It was the 17th best round of the day.
I was wrong.
He lost to Harry Higgs.
But I believe that he's hearing the haters, and this can be a good week for Ricky.
Because you want it to happen?
Because it's time.
In fairness, he did strike the ball really well in round 2. Over 2 strokes gained on approach, hit it very close to the pin. Also gained 3 strokes putting.
He struck
short game, not great.
That'll be grinded on. It's a course he likes. It's a course he's contended at often.
Has he? I feel like you're misremembering Ricky. You want Ricky to be so good that you're just like giving him extra credit for stuff.
Yeah, and he was on a Monday like one-on-one here with Tiger once, and he like faded hard.
He came 3rd in 2013, his only top 10 ever at this event. And he plays it.
Did Tiger win that? Because that might be the exact event I'm talking.
It is. So 7 years ago, he really made a run, and he hasn't come back in the top 10
since.
I was
home sick from work that day. It is very vivid.
He was that Monday. He has come 14th and 12th at this event before. Like it's sort of like Hideki's numbers at this course, where he had a really and that was actually his debut in 2013.
I'm betting Ricky Fowler.
Okay, because you want to. Just say because you want to.
Because I want to.
There you go.
Because
listen, I bet losers all the time. I like for no real rhyme or reason.
I don't. I think
who's better, Ricky Fowler or Luke List?
I can smell a good spot here for Ricky this week. Smell it.
Does it surprise you that when we look at the pantheon of like elite wins in players' career, that Ricky and Siwoo are the same?
No, it's very similar.
That Ricky and Stephen Ames are the same, except he has more Champions Tour wins now, I think.
Yeah, I guess Kuchar's long past Ricky, right?
Oh, Kuchar has a better career than Ricky does.
Yeah, of course.
That's not even debatable.
Listen, Ricky's in big trouble. I called Ricky out last week. I put it out there, and what happened last week...
Your case was that he's not... he played so poorly in Phoenix for you that he's not... he's going to have a bad year. And then now you're he had another bad event at a course he's good at. So now you're betting him this week?
He hasn't struck the ball like he did last Friday in a really long time.
1 round off the mat is what you're saying.
I've won twice in a row. I could do whatever I want. It's not always methodical.
So is he the guy that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So not Day, who's won here before.
Not Day, not Justin Rose, who's actually might actually show up.
That's who I bet.
I'm betting the loser.
I have no reason to bet. Listen, the same logic you want to use for Ricky Fowler, I'm using for Justin Rose.
But
I see
Rose
Justin Rose
is a major champion.
He was the number 1 player in the world 14 months ago.
There's a lot more to try to sell yourself on than what I am.
Well, there's 2 things on it because I might bet Stenson too, who's also at 40.
What are you going to do, Fienberg, you idiot?
Accuracy. You also just said you were going to bet any American player below 100 to 1. Now you're betting Ricky Fowler.
I said it was a lie.
Oh, lying to yourself. So Rose, Stenson always plays well here. I think that there legitimately is a Stenson-Rose corollary at courses. They have very similar games. I worry that Rose has just been garbage. I'm not going to lie to you about that, but...
At least I'm not betting Finau also.
You weren't on camera for the look into the camera.
All right. Well,
Justin Rose and his, I wouldn't say pretty face, but that's up there right now.
Annoying.
Look at those stats. Not good.
He's going to dress like he's 21. Annoy me.
I like that you're annoyed. I like that you're annoyed by Justin Rose, but the new kit Ricky Fowler has where he looks like a fucking highlighters marker.
Listen.
He's fine, though.
All Ricky has going for him is that Puma makes him great. All Ricky has going for him are these collections that Puma makes for him around Bay Hill. It's a fantastic collection.
Man, Ricky is so shit right now. Puma might drop him and he'll have to be sponsored by fucking Umbro. That's what we're looking at. Remember Umbro shorts?
Of course.
Yeah.
I went to summer camp in those.
That's going to be Ricky's new gear.
Yeah. Remember? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think he has a better chance of winning the Players next week than winning this.
Mm-hmm.
And not say he can't win this. He actually rates out really well for this course. His long irons, top notch. Like you said, he may have turned it around. Tends to putt well on Bermuda. He just seems to be... It's no different than a lot of the other guys, but his one bad round is exceptionally bad and he's done. Xander has this one bad round every tournament. but he's not like out of it either because he tends to have like the best round of anyone during the course of a week too.
It's actually amazes me when Xander like isn't when he's playing horribly how well he's still able to play.
Because the ball striking is so good. It all tends to be putting with him. But
even Rory's on a different level. He's just sort of on his own stratosphere with maybe one or two other guys. But like it's amazing when he should be like 4 over, how he's still just like 1 over or even par. And old Rory used to not be like that.
No, but Rory still is like, oh, I'm 5 over. It's like, all right, I'll finish -1 for the day. It's like, oh, he reeled off 6 birdies in a row. Yeah. Rahm is very much the same way too. Like Rahm not afraid of no bogeys.
Not afraid.
But
make them in bunches.
I think that there's a corollary between this course and Torrey Pines. Day has won both recently. Leishman has won both recently. I mean,
Rose won. No,
yeah, Rose won Torrey Pines. He hasn't won here. He's played really well at this course in the past, though. But Rose did not play well at Torrey Pines.
So
this
Leishman
year.
Season.
A lot of people are
Bay Hill win and Leishman. Yeah, I know. And you want to break it?
What?
The news?
Go ahead.
Tim's on Leishman, folks.
Yes. 35 to 1 too. Fair number, but
dropped. I saw it open at 40s.
I know.
People were happy to get it. I didn't, but maybe I still will.
So he's the only guy there. But then you have this 40. The 40s are Stenson, Rose, and Ann. But then you have Morikawa and Bubba at 45.
What's Ann if he misses the cut?
Last week?
Yeah. 60?
50 or 60.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like
what a run for him.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a great weekend for him. But I don't know the world where Colin Morikawa has worse odds than Ben Ann. Like, give me a break. I love Ben Ann, but come on. Although he is a President's Cup guy.
Any love for Bubba this week?
Kind of. I don't know if I want to do the 45 to 1 though. I was hoping it would be deeper.
The driving stats that correlate to the winners here seem to
Torrey Pines winner as well.
Right to Bubba.
It all like the problem is I think that there is a lot of wind expected this weekend. And the thing with Bubba,
happy places.
This is he's played well at this course in the past, but if it gets windy, you just have to worry about some of those giant duck hooks that he has that they just blow into the middle of the water and then he's toast. Yeah. Like I'm surprised Woodland doesn't play this course. What happened to Gary on Saturday?
He was just about to come to me and he double bogeyed 2 of a 3-hole stretch and just disappeared. And they needed a fine Sunday, but yeah, I wanted to hang out with Gary on Saturday. And then when it was close to being time to hang out, I don't know, did he take a bath? I don't really even know. You look at the shot tracker, it was alarming.
Morikawa, I think. Don't know if I want to bet him or not. But that's a really spicy number for what plays well at this course. Driving and long irons and iron play in general. Morikawa is like one of the best players in the world at those two things.
Okay.
Although, kind of like Xander, guys got to make a few putts.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to see myself on him. I am more looking at a couple Brits, though, potentially, in Fitz and Hatton.
I like Hatton. I like Hatton more than Fitz.
Fitz was in it deep last year. He probably got Anderkirst late in his round. And
Tim does love him some Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Who would have? I mean,
you know what? That is a perfect example. When Azinger was talking about guys who win on the European Tour, it's Fitzpatrick. Because he wins like the Nordia Masters and the Czech Masters, anything with Masters in it. Yeah. And he's a good player.
Good player.
But it seems like his world rating is inflated versus what the success that he's had on the PGA Tour.
Absolutely. That is probably a great player profile to put beside the take.
Him and Hatton, frankly.
And I think I can't argue that.
We all forget how young Fitzpatrick is, too. Like, he's still only like 24 or something.
Some of these guys we meet so young that you feel like you've known them forever, and they're still puppies.
And someone had said, like, there was talk about Sungjae, like, how long is he going to go on the PGA Tour without a win? The dude's like 22 or 21 or something. Like, let's calm down a little bit. Just because everyone comes onto the scene and wins immediately.
Winning's hard.
Winning's tough. Ask Hideki hasn't won in 3 years.
He said I saw in some who was tweeting? Someone that like played with him in an event, like a low pro player, said like, why do you play so much? Why are you out here so young? He said it's all about getting into the Olympics for the military exemption.
Get a medal, and you're out. You're good to go.
So he's like
him and Siwoo are battling in Ben Ann.
It seems like since he was like 19 years old, his golf career focus was like, I'm good enough to make paychecks, but I've got to now focus on on eliminating that, and what, it's just a major or a medal, right? We've established the players won't count.
It's a major. It's one of the 4 majors. It's a medal at the Olympics, or I believe a medal at like the Asian Games or something like that, which seems like probably the easiest one to get, I would guess.
How come no one's gotten them? Who's winning those?
I don't even know.
Tongcha? He's not Korean. I don't know. Guys that I guess it's such a
Could
different
be
level.
Jazz, like
Yeah,
could be
such a-
Hideki.
Kiradach. It's such a different level of pressure.
Do you pay off the other guys being like, listen here, Kiradech, I'll give you $500K if you tank it, so I don't have to be in the military.
And Kiradach is like, you know how many shoes
how many
that is?
Lambos is that?
Did you hear the Kiradach story?
Yeah,
What a fucking legend.
he's the best.
But that's why it almost, to my point, proves why sometimes I really get afraid of betting him, Pat, because I do worry he's in 5th place and he's already just doing life math. Like the Lambo, the shoes, the everything.
I have an answer to how old Appy Barnrat is.
How old?
29.
Wow. Good for him. What a king. King.
Living the life.
Living like it. His wife thinks he's got little fucking, thinks he's sugar daddies. No, he just collects shoes. I don't know where we were, but
Hatton. I like Hatton this week.
Hatton we like.
Hatton coming off the wrist injury in Mexico, gained in all 4 strokes gained categories. The wrist is fine. And if the weather gets shitty, that's when you got to like Hatton some more.
Not only that, Hatton spoiled. A lot of people were quick to pick on Hatton with head-to-heads in Mexico, but he showed up ready to play. Fitzpatrick was in it late, as we mentioned. What I wanted to ask was, who wins if remind me, who wins if Molinari doesn't hit everything?
Fitzpatrick.
Okay. Yeah. I don't hate him.
Last year,
He has a specific skill set. You might not like him, but his skill set works here.
He's like Liam Neeson in Taken. He has a very particular set of skills.
He does have a particular set of skills.
Molinari -12, Fitzpatrick -10, Rafa, Tommy -9, Kang, Rory, Keith, Matt Wallace -8, Ben Ann, Adam Long, Lucas Glover, Jason Kokrak, Luke List, Charles Howell -7. Those are your guys from last year. The simulator. Who's the top? Like, the simulator is not good for the international guys. Just a bit tougher on them because you don't have the same amount of stats. But here's the biggest other gap between them. So I said Rory was 4-1. The market has him at 5-1. The simulator has Hideki at 6-1 to win this tournament, based on his numbers. Number 3 in the simulator, Munoz. Simulator loves Munoz, and it called his win, so you've already got paid on Munoz when it happened. I found that really surprising, though.
All right, interesting. Moving along, there's a lot of guys I'm interested to talk about here.
Talk to me about them.
In being able to getting this extra day before we actually record, I got to take in your and Rick's show. I got to take in a lot of other people's content before I spoke. There is some love for Xander answer this week.
I can see it. I think people are like really buying into this President's Cup narrative right now. And I think that it, much like Sung Jae when he gets his win, and a lot like Hovland when he gets his win, it just feels inevitable that Answer's going to win soon, doesn't it?
Yes. To that other name you mentioned, got the win, Puerto Rico curse, but do you almost just say last week was like a free pass, and now you can bet Victor Hovland at 60? If we talked a month ago, we would have been like, if Hovland's over 50, we just got to auto do this.
Maybe.
Like,
do I want to bet? Would I rather bet Answer or Hovland or Horschel, who played really well again last week, very sneakily, and no one really noticed. He ended up kind of like T43 because he had a terrible final round. He was good.
Yeah, he was a very popular pick, and he might.
But people will think that he was
shit because he scorned them and he didn't win, and they bet him at 28-1, and he was on a lot of cards. I get that, so I like to play guys off of that, and sometimes guys have really solid performances. Would you rather Hatton and both Hovland and Horschel?
Yes, I think that I will be betting Hatton. So that would give me Xander, Rose, and Hatton.
And Rafa, nothing? Just doesn't win. Is he a European? Another guy for Azinger? Is he with that Fitzpatrick, Rafa, a good poster boy for that too? Maybe.
I think so. But a lot of this too is that they don't have the same sort of reps. If you play on a different tour, it's hard to win on a tour you don't play on. You know what I mean? Like, if you threw them in all, like, the scrub PGA events, all of a sudden you'd be looking pretty good.
It's true. If Tommy wanted to, like, run a calendar and play
Yeah, if
every
Tommy
time
wants-
where Kevin Na won, he could win.
If
He
Tom
could
wants to
win.
play the swing season, or he wants to play the American Express or the Sony, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or
it's a
what's
bit
the
different.
one that used to be, like, Quicken, or what in...
Yeah, Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah. You're right.
Nate Lashley, better player than Tommy Fleetwood, according to Paul Azinger. But that's really it. Like, Molinari, 90.
Hard.
He had I believe it was his last round was really good, though.
I don't care.
It was like, I mean, Ricky has one good round. He's an auto winner.
If Molinari, if I'm watching or something happens and it is happening and you see it, then maybe you could talk me into something live. I don't think I'll be near the top of the card. I could maybe do something then, but I don't care.
So past 36 rounds per my like key stat model on Fantasy National, who it spits out: Rory, Xander, Hideki, Scott, Stenson, Hovland, Im, Morikawa, Neiman, Russell Knox, and then Terrell Atten. So maybe Rose, Stenson, Xander. It's not a bad card. 25, a 40, a 40, and a 55.
Rose, Stenson. You got winners. You're betting winners.
Yeah, I'm betting good players.
Well, guys that bring win equity to the table.
Like, I waste all my money on Finau, or I can just bet those guys.
This place gets spicy on Sunday. Hard, fast. People say, like, even a Masters green comp is often been mentioned.
Well, I think that because the greens are really big here too, that I do think that lag putting somewhat comes into play. Like, that's like Bubba's bread and butter, lag putting on fast greens. That's why he remains like competitive here. Bryson also very good on that type of green.
You remember when Leishman won? You're like hitting a 56-footer on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like the winner. Like Molly did last. Like, you're just doing some fun.
Basically how Hughes played last weekend.
Yeah.
Because Hughes was 8 under, I think.
I remember we got off the golf course and we're eating lunch on Sunday, and he was like the round of the day in the clubhouse minus whatever he was, 4 to like get to -1.
Yeah.
I didn't see it carrying over the next day. Good for him. I could talk. I
know you weren't. Rick and I ended up betting Hughes
awesome
on Saturday night.
Smart.
Well, it gave me a good, like, I didn't have to hedge.
Dude,
that was nice.
There was a crew that I guess had a late night in Gup's house that were betting Ben Ann live 200 to 1.
It's pretty good.
On Saturday night after a few drinks. And then you see in typical Ben Ann fashion, he's like 300 through 3. And then hard to make another one the rest of the day. He does that often. But great little week for Ben. I mean, guys, 6 over. Comes in 5th place, 4th place.
Past 36 rounds, putting on fast to lightning greens, strokes gained. And I'll do the strokes gained by average per round and see what we get spit out here. Best players in the field. Champ, number 1. Patrick Rogers, number 2. Ricky Fowler, number 3. Jason Day, number 4. Brennan Todd, number 5. The Todd father. Horschel, Hostler, Kisner, Gay, McDowell. Other guys like of notables inside the top 25. Fleetwood, Reed, Noren, Schwartzel, Rose, Wolf, and Bryson. Now, Wolf is only from 4 rounds of data, not 36.
You make anything on Charles?
He gained like 20 strokes.
I know, right? That's like hard pass.
I actually think that last week proves that if he can, he'll be in the Masters. He could be one of those guys, because I think he came like 2nd at the Masters like 3 years ago.
If the winning score is -6, 7, 8.
No, not even that. It's just if the winning score is -13, Charles can just have one of those weeks where even the year that he won, he had the chip in, he had the 50-foot putts. Like, he gets so unbelievably scorching hot on the greens that he'll be competitive at the Masters for a very long time. Like, he'll have miscut, 3rd. He'll be one of those guys.
All right, so hopefully he stays sleepy before and catch a huge number for an each way or something. Head it in with those extended each way placings.
Yeah.
Do they do some of that for the players?
I believe they do. It might only be top 6, though. We'll see.
We'll see.
And they usually cut it to 1/5 instead of 1/4. But I'm okay with that if they give me 8 places or something.
You mentioned the model talking well about Neiman. Is there anything there for you?
I think that there is. I don't necessarily know what it is. Like, he's really good with long irons. He's a really good driver of the ball. He sticks it close. Just, he's been bad basically since he won.
All right.
He is one of those President's Cup guys, though. Can't overlook that.
Long shots. You want to do them?
Yeah, unless there's anyone else below 100 you want to talk about.
I'll give a quick I don't.
Nah.
Let me ask you, Max Homa, not on Bermuda grass. Is there a track? What sort of track record is that?
I don't really know. I believe he played well here last year. He's played well on Bermuda in the past. He's just playing really well right now.
I know, but Bermuda can be a great equalizer.
Here's the thing. Will I like Hama this week? I see him at 66, and I see someone like Brennan Steele at 90 coming off a really good week, a good ball striking week. He's played well at this course before. He has 2 elite finishes so far, just like Homa. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. And
if Max Hama doesn't host that podcast now with Shane Bacon, he's 90-1. He's not 66-1.
I'd also probably rather bet Hovland at 60 than Max at 66 if I'm betting there. Or
you-
even Answer.
Or Answer,
Yeah.
or Horschel, or Rafa.
Yep.
Like,
all good points. Good points.
long shots. I got a few here.
I got a few too. Happy to talk about them.
I'm playing all these with the each way, obviously to the top 5. I got Noren at 140.
Yes.
It just seems really
Yes.
low. And if I talk about like a Torrey Pines crossover a little bit, I mean, he's played well at Torrey Pines in the past.
Would have bet him last week. He decided to not even show up for the Monday qualifier.
Feels like he's too much of a big man.
He missed the cut in Puerto Rico. That had to be a kick in the nuts.
That's not great.
So we'll see. Yeah, it's not great, but Noren 140. I'm with you, Pat. Let's get it.
You told me to. I bet Matt Wallace for you at 175-1. So what you put on as a bet, I just played half that as well as part of the same bet. So I'm in on Wallace with you. I'll follow you on that. The other guys I wanted to give some looks to.
Can I just say something about Wallace concerning par 3 scoring last week?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Par 3s can be exceptionally random.
Yeah. He complained. He missed the cut on the number, was bitching about a lot of mud balls. Seems like a guy that complains a lot, though.
Speaking of par 3s from 200 to 225 yards, do you know who the best player in the field over the past 36 rounds on holes of that length are?
This is going to be someone really random. It's not Harold Varner, is it?
Lonto. Lonto rates out really well for this course. And he's been putting like crap, and he's a pretty good putter.
Rick's boy, Lonto.
Yeah. Lonto's 140.
140. What about Patrick Rogers, 140?
I'd rather Lonto. And I'd rather Champ at 140. I think Champ's live here.
Where are we at? 140.
Like those 3 guys at 140, like $5 each. 5 on the win, 5 on the each way. Like, you're fine. You don't need to like go nuts with these guys.
Can I ask you about a couple more? You got a few to say.
No. Oh, you want to say Willett, I'm sure?
Well, Connors first. And Willett on my page is right under him, so his name does catch my eye.
Well, there's like 3 guys right in a row. Like Connors, 150.
Matthew Wolf?
Wolf, 160.
What the fuck is that?
Is that an auto bet?
I actually didn't even notice that because it probably didn't even register that would be around. Like, shouldn't he be at 80-1 just because? 90-1?
Like, in what world do we live in where Matthew Wolf is more than double the odds of Max Homa? I get Homa's playing much better, but let's be real here. I mean, Wolf's been bad. Did play well at Farmers, though. His around the green game has been atrocious. But much like Champ, the driving is always there, and that's such an equalizer that it makes you live in a lot of these tournaments. Like, if all you're doing is driving the ball in the top 5th percentile of the field, which both those guys can do pretty consistently, and you start draining putts, it doesn't really matter what the rest of your game looks like. You can get away with that. They might be better top 20 bets. Like a top 20 on Wolf right now, I think pays like, I don't know, 9-1 or something. Like that might be the bet.
I heard a lot of people grumbling they wanted to see Joel Damon play last week.
Yeah, he would have been good last week.
Not this week, though?
I think he might be, actually, he rates out really well, too. He's good on those long par 3s, but is such an accurate player off the tee. Like, I feel like he would have been really good last week.
And Sam Burns, you were talking about last week.
He was inside the top 10 going into the weekend. And then he was like 7 over, 8 over. It was not good for old Sammy Burns.
225-1.
Higgs is another one down here along with Burns. Like, I mean, if the simulator likes Munoz that much, should I be blindly be playing like a top 20 on him? Because the only one I've actually bet in this bunch is Noren. But a lot of these guys are super intriguing to me. But I don't know if the outright is the way to approach it. Especially if you're not an international player or your name isn't Matt Every.
Matt Every. Where's he?
I think he's like 400-1.
Yeah.
He has missed the cut here the past 2 years.
Okay. Double the odds of last week. He seemed incredibly popular. Got off to the fire start. Harris English.
This feels like less of a Harris English course.
What are the big differences between last week and this week? The course set, because they feels very similar.
Distance, man. Like
it's way longer.
It was way longer. Like Bombers. I mean, we saw Fitzpatrick do really well, but it's just driving in general. Like Fitzpatrick has played the Masters really well. Like he can, especially when the wind starts kicking up. Hatton's another one. Poulter's another one. Like they can keep it below the fray. They can hit those fairways when the conditions get ratcheted up a little bit. Like they're more live. Like Fitzpatrick comes in second at -10 last year. The year before, Rory wins at 18 under, Bryson 17 under. Like he's in T27 that year at the same thing.
It did get it did get crusty and fast.
Yeah, Molinari just made every putt. That was the difference, and no one else did. So I would lean like Connors. I find somewhat interesting here because he's not long off the tee, but he's a good driver. Molinari isn't long off the tee, but he's a good driver, or he was a good driver. Like they're just going to hit an abundance of fairways. They're not going to make too many like bad misses. But Connors lost more than 0.5 strokes on approach last week. He lost like 3 in 2 rounds. Water will do that to you for the first time in 16 starts, which is nuts. Think he wins Valspar?
I'll bet him. Well, I'd like to get a fair number.
Maybe we'll get a 40. Anyway.
I don't know, but like aren't him and Kokrak like the 4th and 6th best players in that field?
Brooks is playing.
Okay, Brooks,
and Tommy's,
Casey.
I believe Tommy's playing too.
Okay, Brooks, Casey, Reed.
Im will probably play because he plays every week.
Spieth will play, won't he?
I'm curious to see what number you get on Spieth at Valspar. I wonder if it's like 50.
What do you think? What number do you think you get on Spieth next week?
For someone who has like a bad track record at the Players as well, you might see like an 80 on Spieth next week. Maybe more. Maybe he's 100 to 1. Would you bet him at 100 to 1?
Maybe.
Right.
I don't know the Players though. Spieth.
Yeah, it's bad fit for him. Quick picks for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I am going with Xander at 25. Rose, I've talked myself into Stenson as well, both at 40. Hatton at 55. The Bombs, I'm going with Noren at 140. I tailed you on Wallace at 175, and I think I'm going to bet Lonto at 140 as well. I'm going to think about top 20s and top 10s on some of those other long shot guys that I mentioned, but there's just not enough win equity from down there for some of those guys. Maybe even the Lonto bet is a top 10 bet, not an outright bet. I think that's 18 to 1. Like, that's fine.
Okay.
It has a better chance, put it this way, better chance of hitting than the 160 outright.
Ricky, Answer, Hatton are the bets I've made. Noren and Wallace, I've also bet.
You're not going to get it on Xander?
I'm still thinking, Xander, I'm not betting Hideki. If he wins, at this point, it's just got to be without me, right? Unless it's a really big field and we're catching a nice number, when everyone's there. I could still talk myself into Tommy or Bryson, but I doubt it. Leishman. I'm going to say that. No, I'm going to be very clear because that was a ramble. Fowler, Answer, Hatton have been bet. Leishman, I will bet, and I'm going to probably pick one of Bryson or Tommy.
Okay. One and done very quickly. Cust has Leishman. You're up because you had Woodland last week, and I had Lowry, not Im. So
Tommy.
Fleetwood?
Yeah.
Fleetwood, and I believe I've used Xander, so I will go with Stenson. Probably a bad spot to burn Stenson. But here we are. That'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience.
I hate the not elite wood, just had gasoline thrown on the fire.
Yeah, it's all just setting up for a big win for old Tommy. Maybe it's the Masters. Who knows? Anyway, Geoff Fienberg, you can follow him on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can follow me at the PME, Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitter box. Other than that, get into the draws, play in the Pat Mayo Experience Open, and fantasynational.com/PME gets you 20% off. Highly recommended. Good luck this week at Bay Hill. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!